All right, we are back, guys. Welcome back to more esports talk. The one, the only, young Stewie, Jake, STEWIE2k. What is up, my man? How you doing?
What's up, man? I'm good. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, heck yeah. And thank you for coming on. Super excited for this one. Got some great questions, not only that we wrote, but Twitter loves you, as you know very well. Blast Pro questions out of the way. Obviously, with this showdown and, of course, finals coming up, I got to ask you, besides Liquid, who's the biggest threat?
Man, there's a lot of threats these days. I feel there's a lot of tough competition. I think Gambit's super strong. A lot of teams are looking strong. Honestly, there's no real underdogs. I feel like any team can really beat any team. I think it's just about showing up that day when it matters and making sure everything comes into fruition.
Yeah, heck yeah. Now, when it comes time for besides Liquid, if I'm going to ask you top three teams, though, I know you said that there's a lot of run-of-the-mill teams who can all win any day, but if you had to choose three teams besides Liquid, who you choosing?
I gotta look up the list real quick. 1 second. I feel like, yeah, actually, there's a lot of tough teams. Like I said, I think there's a lot of threats, but top three, I think top three, I would have to go with the CIS teams. I think Navi super strong, Gambit, and Virtus Pro. I think those three are the hardest teams to play for us right now. I even feel like playing against Astralis is easier than playing against them right now. So
I'm going to quote that. Now, forgive me for being awkward. I got to check audio levels while I ask you this. You mentioned CIS teams. We've definitely seen a rise over the past few months of those CIS teams. Any reason you think behind that?
I feel like since Navi rose up to the top and they became one of the best teams, I think it kind of gives that motivation for the CIS region. It puts them on the map, and I think every team's putting a lot of hard work these days. I think they're doing a lot of research, watching demos, and they're making sure the team is functioning with the system. And everyone needs to know the philosophy of the team, and that becoming one of the best teams in the world and becoming a top 5 team. I think that's where it shows that all players they're functioning on the same page, they're talking the same language, and that's what makes them one of the scariest teams.
Now, do you think the dominance and the rise of CIS we have seen, do you think that stays the same once we go back to LAN, or do you think things are going to change all over again?
I think it will go back to normal. I think it will be Astralis will still be one of the best teams in the world, and if not the best team in the world. I think they struggle with the online factor. I think the online season, it just kind of kills the motivation for many players. That's why so many players are making the switch, or they're taking mental breaks and they need to take a step back from the game. It's really draining and it's hard. It's hard to stay focused 100%. I think at this point, playing in front of a crowd is one of the biggest goals for each team when they go to a tournament. So that that builds a different type of motivation. It's a different type of vibe, and I think playing at LAN is a totally different game. It's a totally different beast. There's more pressure. It's not like pressure as in playing in front of a crowd, but that individual pressure that you feel yourself. So a lot of teams still needs to be tested on LAN, but I'm excited to see when it comes back.
Yeah, it's going to be super curious as we've seen kind of these younger guys out there. You had experience a couple years back as a younger guy on LAN. Do you think that pressure is something that could get to a younger guy who hasn't had that experience yet?
I think it really depends. I think with the individuals that we see these days, a lot of them are ice cold. A lot of them, they just come to play. They have nothing to lose, they have nothing to fear, and they want to prove themselves, and that's what makes them a dangerous prospect. And I think it's pretty common for players to kind of crumble under pressure a little bit. But as time goes on, when you get that experience, you start finding your comfort zone and you start really showing your potential. And once you break through that barrier, that's where everything starts blooming.
And so, speak of the devil, eventually, hopefully, we'll get back there pretty soon. Are you missing Lance?
Yeah, I'm missing Lance for sure. Like I said, I love playing in front of the crowd. You know me. I like getting hyped a lot. I don't even know why I'm that type of person. Honestly, when I get hyped, I think you just feel a different type of energy, and that comes from the arena. That's the source of energy right there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, you are an energetic character, especially on LAN. I was kind of trying to ask you a question, thinking back over the years, because being back then when it was Smoke Criminal and the Pug Star kind of Stewie, what is it like looking back and realizing where you are now, one of the best in North America? Like, have you ever really fully grasped all the things you've already accomplished?
I haven't completely really took the time and sit back and look at my own career fully. I think I do look back at some of the best moments, like winning the major, winning the Grand Slam, but I just think that just because it's myself, I never really look at it from the third person perspective. I never, I can't describe myself. I don't know what other people see in me, I just feel like looking back at it, I was once a star coming up, and now that I've gone on Liquid, and throughout my time on SK, I kind of learned to gradually change into more of a role player, something that's important, it's something that a team needs. And I feel like when I was looking at Liquid before I joined, I see this role that I've been working on SK. I see that they need that. They need this type of role player, and I could be that person that helps them get to the jump over the next barrier. So I'm glad I could make that happen. No words to be said, to be honest.
And speaking of roles, obviously Fallen being the latest addition has probably alleviated a lot of pressure for you. He definitely fits a role that maybe someone like you wanted. What's it been like, though, playing alongside one of the more notorious figures in Counter-Strike history?
Fallen has always been a teammate that I love playing with. It's funny because when I went from Cloud9 to SK, that's where I learned the most about the game, how to play a different style, how to play smart, how to play together as a team. And I brought a lot of that from what I learned from Fallen to Liquid. And for him to come back and have this reunion type thing, I think it makes me feel a lot more relieved, a lot more pressure relieved on my shoulders. He's doing most of the calling, and I feel like since he's joining us, it's taking him some time to adapt. And I think the table's kind of turned where he's kind of learning from us now instead of me learning from him. So it's nice to, have a teammate that I liked playing with back then to, join this final iteration of Liquid.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans out there, maybe I know obviously a very appreciated role, but still don't know necessarily the impact that an IGL role can have on someone's performance. So what has that been like for you, dibbling and dabbling back and forth with that kind of thing?
I think as I grew as a player, I'm this natural leader where when I see something, I'm not afraid to say it. If I have the right read, and even if it's wrong, like I will still say it. I feel like I'm a mid-round caller. I see things, and I'm not afraid to voice it. So it's always natural for me to do that. But now having Fallen, I think it makes me focus a lot on my own game. But the problem with me is that I think I've been repping this IGO role for so long, and feeling the need to actually fulfill that role. I feel nowadays it's not about me thinking about my opponents, what their next move is, how they're going to react. I think I'm thinking more big picture. I'm letting ELEAGUE do most of those thinkings, how he's going to get those frags, NAF, Grim, and I'm thinking, okay, well, we got this frag here. How are we going to end the round? How are we going to finish it? What's the best thing possible? So I'm still slowly adjusting back to, just focusing on my own game, but I feel like it's a natural part of me to also voice my opinion.
Heck yeah. Now, complete switch up. I got to ask everybody. I love coffee. I love caffeine. As a pro player, what's your caffeine or what's your schedule been like when it comes time for keeping up with the caffeinated side?
I try not to drink too much Monster. I feel like energy drinks kind of make me jittery, and it gives me a big shutdown a couple hours later. So I try to avoid that. I think I try to just have 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day in the morning, usually when I wake up. And in the afternoon, I'll have like 1 more. So 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. And then for the match, if I'm feeling really tired, I would open a Monster. But usually I try to stick with water or, something more natural.
Heck yeah. Now, before I ask you the question I have to, can you talk quickly about Stewie Store? So obviously Liquid's had huge collaborations in the merch game, but recently Stewie Store launched. So, I mean, floor is yours really quick. What kind of inspired that? How long has it been in the making?
Honestly, the Stewie Store started pretty recent. It came out of the blue. The idea just popped out, and I've always wanted to do my branded merchandise, but I never really found the right time to take on this opportunity. And since it came back up again, I decided why not give it a shot. But I think the difference is, I think people are expecting something like the Liquid merchandise or like the 100 Thieves merchandise when it's not the case. I think for me, this is more so, giving back to the fans and doing things that they like to see. I'll be open to feedback. I'll hear what they have to say and some suggestions, and I want to make what they want to see. And I have never really interacted with my fans. I've streamed in the past, but that's not too much. I don't really do giveaways. I don't talk too much on social media. So I feel like it's about time that I give some things back to the fans that made me who I am today.
Yeah, I'm excited to see all the responses on that and how it progresses because, of course, your org Liquid has done great things. So I'm excited to see if that ever crosses paths as well. Now, the big question I've always wanted to hear from you is the experience, obviously, at ELEAGUE. You know, those kind of grand finals you don't come across very often. I would say the best major grand finals that I've ever seen, but I'm biased, of course. So you got to run me through it. What's a moment like that really like and really feel like?
The way I describe that Boston moment in the major final, I think that was the most camaraderie I felt within the team, and the feeling of being together. And we're so zoned in that we hear the crowd, but it's more so it's just me and my teammates and the monitors. That's it, just background noise, and we're at a team house or something. And it was super intense. We had a lot of emotions running through the game, and when I talk about camaraderie, it's having frustrating rounds and rounds that we shouldn't lose, and you can see emotions flaring, and our teammates are picking each other up. I remember this picture very clearly with Tarek. This round I lost to Kerrigan, and I took off my headset, and you see this picture of Tarek trying to pick me up. That means a lot, and it says a lot. I think that tournament, it's hard to describe. I think that's like where the dream becomes true, where you're playing in front of a North American crowd, and you're playing in the most prestigious tournament, and it so happens that we win it in that fashion.
And you don't got to tell me the truth if you're in front of teammates, but what was better, the Grand Slam or the Major?
Man, this is honestly a tough one. I think the Intel Grand Slam is just more prestigious at this point. It takes 4 tournaments, it's $1 million, and I think that's what makes that so special. But the thing about the Boston Major is that there's so many more factors to it. There's the first North American team, the storyline behind it, my story, Scott's story, Tarek's story, everybody's story, and to end the final map in double overtime or triple overtime, there's nothing to say about it. I think I have to go with the Major. I think the Grand Slam is definitely big, but the Major is definitely the biggest achievement for me.
All right, last bounce off question on that. When you guys do, I think plenty of us expect it, when you eventually win a major with Liquid, if that were to be, is there something that you want to take in more now knowing from the Cloud9 experience? Is there something that, when that eventually happens, returning to LAN, is there something that you'll change about that moment to really take it in at all?
I don't think anything would change for me. I feel like I've been a fierce competitor throughout my career, and I've always aimed for the trophies. I don't care about anything else. That's always my biggest goal. Whatever it takes for me to get there, and a major is everyone's dream. But for me now that I achieved the first major, I want to be, the first North American player to get 2 majors, and I want to keep doing that. I want to keep pushing, breaking records, and I want to have all those accolades, and that's pretty much my goal.
For sure, because bouncing off that, we had a clip where Simple was like, he needs a major still before he even thinks anything about Valorant. But he said, if he were Astralis with 4, he would think about a switch. So you clearly want another major. What are your thoughts on Valorant? And I was told to ask you, would you ever consider the switch?
Yeah, I get a lot of questions about switching to Valorant, but I feel like the people that are commenting about it are thinking about it more than I am. There's definitely, it definitely goes in the back of your head, and you start thinking maybe it's worth it to make the switch. How much success is there right now? But for me, it's about the passion within the game. I played Valorant for a decent amount, and my passion doesn't feel the same compared to Counter-Strike. And just the atmosphere in Counter-Strike is way different than Valorant. You don't know what's to come yet. There's still room for me to move there. There's no rush. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be there for a while. But for me, my main goal is to end in CS, and right now I'm not thinking about Valorant. I'm just thinking about what's in front of me, and I'm just focused on that.
Yeah, because recently we've had a lot of people out there. I think one of your teammates too tweeting out the Valorant, characters or agents. Tarek just this morning was, of course, leading people on, so had to ask you that question. But when it comes time for, I was actually asking about Alexi B about the future of Valorant. Do you see it being a rival to CSGO, or are you more of the side of if Valorant's successful, CSGO will continue to thrive and maybe just be together?
I'm more on the side of Valorant and CS being side by side and making CS better. I don't think it's a real big competition. I think Valorant, they made the game specifically from CS, and they added different details to it. But I think it helps both sides. It shouldn't really be a competition. You know, we're all in it together at the end of the day. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. You know, I don't think we should be saying, "Oh, Valorant is better than Counter Strike" when Counter Strike's been around for so long and has,
Yeah.
you know, it's not going anywhere either.
This is completely random because I think I saw Moses behind you. Over the past year, Liquid's made some really signings that you never really saw coming a couple years back, whether it be for CSGO or whether it be for Valorant in general. You know, you got Pasha, you got Scream, Moses, Fallen. What's it like being just surrounded by guys that, you know, either you watch cast or you played against in just completely different environments, now join Liquid as a coaching role or in a completely different esport? Like, what's that been like?
We actually talked about this question the other day. I brought up how, you know, Liquid has so many faces that you never thought would be on here. You know, like you said, I never thought I would be on Liquid. We were always a big rival, Cloud9 and Liquid. You know, there's definitely some words said behind the scenes, but you know, that's part of the competition. And for me, joining Liquid, I always said that, you know, Liquid is going to be the end of the road for me. This is where I'm going to finish and accomplish everything I want. And for Fallen, I never thought he would be, you know, not the captain of a Brazilian team. You know how he came up, and you know the accomplishment, all the accomplishments he had. It's based from him. You know, he's part of the core always, and now he's joining a North American team. That's something that, you know, we would never have guessed a couple years ago.
I
And
know, just
and
sorry, my
Pasha,
bad.
no, you're all good. I mean, same goes for Pasha. You know, he's a legend in Poland, and he played for Virtus Pro. You would expect someone like that to do bigger things for Poland, and you know, just, you know, have that pride. You know, he would be helping the Polish scene. I'm not saying that he isn't, but like, you know, he would be on Virtus Pro and helping them out. You know, but you know, he came to Liquid instead. So it's nice to see that people aren't afraid to jump boats. They're not afraid to take risks and, you know, expand their horizons.
Yeah, I think that just says a lot about Team Liquid in general. But to your point, you know, if this is your ending place, ELEAGUE told me the same thing. But so many big faces who I imagine are going to call Team Liquid home. It just shows a lot for the organization. Now, kind of a trickier question, but I got to ask you because you were a Pug star. Like you grew up through the ESCA ranks. You were the smoke criminal. Obviously, as of late, we've had the investigations ongoing and a lot of younger talent, accusations right now being involved in potential match fixing. You got any thoughts on that? And especially when it comes time for North America possibly being pretty hurtful for the future of the space?
Honestly, I don't have any nice words to say. All I have to say is I think those people are scum, and it's just, you know, you're just violating the integrity of the game, and it's just being selfish at that point. You know, you're looking out for yourself and you're willing to do those things, and it says a lot about you. It says a lot about your character. You know, that's something that's never going to leave your image, and look where it's gotten us now. You know, you tainted the scene, and you made the situation escalate. You got, you know, the FBI involved in it. You know, it's not a good look for us, and it's not a good look for them. So that's just, you know, these are things that you have to earn. You know, it's for yourself as a human being. You know, I think this is stuff that you have to earn and you have to achieve, and that's what makes it so satisfying. You know, it's what keeps you sane. Like in the end, when you achieve those things, you know, you feel satisfaction, you feel all those things. But to do those things, you can't hide the truth forever. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's tough to imagine what spot they were in, but you know, it's hard to say that they really saw themselves like maybe you, like a major champion, achieving all of these great things. It's hard to believe that, you know, they really saw that in their future if they're choosing to do these kind of things. It's kind of more disappointing to see. We all saw the repercussions of iBuyPower and for people to keep on doing those things. Now, kind of going off of that as well, obviously your former team and now you're again rival Cloud9 recently leaving CSGO, kind of tied into how many people see North American CSGO as dying. I know I threw a lot of hard words out there, but what are your thoughts on all of that?
I think it's tough for the North American scene right now just because we're in this COVID state and we're always going to have to travel to Europe because competition's here. So there's not a lot of recognition, and it's going to be a hard process to rebuild in North America, but it's not something that's impossible. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, you know, the common saying. But I think it could definitely be revived. You know, the people shouldn't be giving up. I think right now for the prospects in North America, this is your time to shine. You know, this is your time to step up and create that name for yourself. You know, even though the scene is kind of dying a little bit, this is where you can stand out. This is where you can find potential in your career. So, but for Cloud9, I think it's a little bit of a bittersweet feeling, you know, just knowing that I was a part of the last iteration of the roster that, you know, could do some damage, that could actually achieve something. And it's just sad to see such an organization go, because I know when I first got picked up, it was a dream come true to be picked up by such a high level organization and team. And, you know, back then I was thinking that I'm going to become that player that stays there. You know, I'm going to call this place home. I'm going to be a franchise player, and, you know, the roster would be revolved around me, and this is where my career is going to end. You know, the way I picture it is kind of like Kobe Bryant on the Lakers. You know, that's how I looked at it. And now I'm on Liquid. So, you know, just thinking about those things and seeing where Cloud9's ending up, it's kind of sad to see. But I have faith that they will come back and they'll find the roster that they want and a team that would achieve more than they did already.
Yeah, it's just been kind of a crazy time with the match fixing and, of course, the spectating bug and all of these bans and punishments being issued, and a lot focused on North America. Meanwhile, the rise of Valorant. So it's nice to see a team like Liquid, you know, kind of maintain that prominent North American spot in Counter-Strike, including people like you. Very last question for you that people keep on asking me. Your warm-up routine and your daily routine. What's the schedule been like for you?
My warm-up routine, I think over the years, I felt like it started getting lighter and lighter. I feel like you become a little more low maintenance when you get the experience that you want. You kind of figure yourself out how you know, prepare the best. I think on a normal match day at a normal LAN event, back then when Nitro and Twist and ELEAGUE, they were all going to the gym, I try to get my mind, my body more active in the mornings. So we would go early gym session, we would get some food before we go to the gym, and then afterwards we get some food, we rest, we prepare for the match. And the way I like to warm up is just to make sure my day's more relaxed, you know, I'm not stressed, I'm focused on the game. And once we arrive to the arena, you know, I wouldn't warm up too much. I'll wait maybe before 30 minutes before it's live, or 45 minutes, and just play 10-15 minutes and, you know, get up, walk around, talk with my teammates, you know, keep the mood light. And sometimes I'll pop open a monster. So depends on the day, depends how I'm feeling, but my routine is super simple. I think it's all mental. I'm all about mental preparation.
Any programs in particular that you use in? Is it DMs? Is it aim labs? Like anything else in particular?
I'm very casual. No, you're good. I'm very casual. I just play aimbots, and sometimes I'll hop in a deathmatch server. I know ELEAGUE plays, you know, aim labs or Kovac. I think every player is just different. For me, I don't have any special routines. I'm very basic, very normal. Sorry to the fans who thought I would have something special for you. But actually, one thing different is that I would make sure my hands are very warm before I play. You know, I would soak in hot water, make sure it's loose, flexible, so it doesn't feel tight. Stretch it a little bit.
People are going to be pissed, man. You just make it sound so simple and casual. All right, well, that is all I got for you. I want to thank you for the time. The floor is yours. If you got any outro words, you want to shout out the store?
Yeah, I just want to shout out the store. Stewie Store on Instagram, Stewie Store on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow. I'm going to be releasing a lot of different things. I hope you guys like it. We're open to feedback, so make sure you guys stay tuned, and we'll have news for you guys soon.
Heck yeah, and best of luck at Blast, Jake. Stu, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.